States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Boroughs comply with those provisions of the Sunshine Law by adopting prior to January 10th of this year a resolution prescribing the date, time, and location for all regular meetings of the Commission. This meeting is one of the meetings listed in such resolution, and copies of the resolution were prior to January 10th filed with the Borough.
Okay. Motion to file the following reports: CFO, municipal court, tax collector, and zoning official.
Make a motion.
Second.
I need a motion to file the minutes from May 3rd, 2021.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, the following ordinances. Second reading and public hearing of general capital improvement ordinance 1710.
So this is related to the public safety building, right? Pretty much all of it, right, Cassandra?
4, 6, 6.
Yeah, pretty much all of it. And this is money that is within our budget. It covers some of last year and some of this year in what we call the capital improvement fund. So it gets budgeted in there for capital projects, for infrastructure. And then when you go to spend it, you need to adopt and take an official action and say, okay, we're going to take that part of the budget, we're going to spend it on these items. As opposed to when you put money in for the pool, you can just go spend the money on the pool. For these capital projects, we have to adopt the ordinance. So this is the public hearing on the ordinance. Would anyone like to be heard on this ordinance? This is your opportunity to do so. Anybody? Okay. Paul?
Mayor Mallon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson? Yes. We have the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1711 relating to the act of breeding and keeping honeybees, amending chapter 105 of the Collins Municipal Code.
So this ordinance is simply requiring or setting rules on how close to property lines people can do beekeeping activities. After we introduced this, we were advised by the state beekeeping office that we have to get their approval for that ordinance before we adopt it. So I make a motion, we just table this to our next meeting. They're in the process, they're going to review it, and then we'll be able to act. If there's anyone here that wants to make any comment to us on this, since it was advertised, I'll give you that chance. No, nobody here in the beekeeping ordinance? Okay. All right.
Roll call for this.
I'll second the motion to table.
Thank you. We have the second reading and public hearing of salary ordinance 1712, the zoning officer.
So this is creating a hybrid position between zoning officer and some other work down in within Borough Hall. And this is setting the salary for that. This is the second reading. Anyone like to be heard on that? This is their opportunity to do so. Anyone? Okay.
I'm sorry. Mayor Mallon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson? Yes. We have the first reading of salary ordinance 1713 for inspector as needed.
So Cassandra, this is just look like as a backup inspector. This is setting the salary, setting an hourly rate, I presume is what it is. A daily rate or per diem for backup code officials, inspectors as we need them. Somebody's on vacation. A lot of our building code guys are on vacation. We don't want a week or two to go by without people being able to process. So we borrow somebody from another town who's an inspector there, pay them a day rate, and then the work will go on. Second hearing on the second reading and public hearing will be at our August 2.
Yes.
August 2.
Mayor Mallon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson? Yes. And we have the first reading of ordinance 1714 adopting amendments to the redevelopment plan for Borough of Collinswood to permit cannabis establishments, distributors, and delivery services.
Okay, a couple things to go over on this. This is something I never thought we'd do, but this is something that we're moving ahead with. And I want to just a couple overarching things. One is timing. The vote on this was like in November of last year, of 2019. It took a while for the legislature to come up with adopt a law. When they finally did, they put towns on a pretty tight timeline to decide whether or not they wanted to opt in and regulate the cannabis industry, or whether they wanted to opt out. Okay, the law came into effect at the beginning of this year, which for us coincided with our election season as well. So prior to the election, we did not really move on this because we felt it was something that whoever got elected, it would be more appropriately their call. So the election in May, the deadline the state set is the middle of August, that you have to either opt in or opt out of permitting cannabis. So once the election's over, we had a couple other little things like we couldn't get trash picked up by the company that we hired. So we've got a couple other things going on. What this ordinance does is something that we've talked about at a few of the meetings, 3 or 4 meetings over the last 6 months. But we've talked about a plan to permit this on Route 130. We permit all the different categories. There are 6 different categories. They kind of have split up the cannabis industry into planting and cultivation through processing into like ultimately retail and delivery. 6 different classes, they're calling them. And it would permit those classes on along Route 130. It's being done as an amendment to our borough-wide redevelopment plan, okay? What that does, well, let me back up. We're putting this in place, and the deadline for towns is August 15, but the state won't be issuing any regulations on how these industries, how we're allowed to regulate them until after August 15th. So we're in a position where we don't know what the rules are yet, but we have to either opt in or opt out. So what we've done is this amendment to the redevelopment plan makes zoning available as a conditional use, meaning there are certain conditions that have to be satisfied, and requires there be a redevelopment agreement with the town, with the borough, before you get the benefit of that. So we're opting in under the state legislation, and we've done it in a way and in an area that we think it makes sense, but kind of as a holding pattern to wait and see what the state comes down with, what the regs are, what the rules are, what's going to happen. So we're permitting it, it's being put in place, but we're no different. You'll see a lot of towns that are just opting out, are saying no. And the reason why they're saying no is because there's no regs yet, because we don't know what the rules are, and they don't want to opt in and agree on something when the rules might be something that doesn't fit for them. So we're putting that in place. We've scheduled a town forum on the 14th so that we can have some discussion about it. This redevelopment plan as an ordinance can be changed very easily. We'll see what comes down the road. But we wanted to opt in. We wanted people in the industry to be aware that we were opting in. And the last thing I'll tell you is this, and Robert Word or whatever you want to say about this, but the last thing I'll tell people, I've seen on the social media, people are all starting talking about here, there, that, this, how it should be. We've had a couple people interested, but the number one issue for everyone that has expressed an interest and for the experience we have close by is parking. The attraction of the Route 130 locations is parking. I know folks that are involved with the Belmar medical marijuana, they had adequate parking, they thought, when they started. Now they have leased other space and they have a shuttle that runs people from parking over to the site. So for folks to think that this should, we should just approve and allow today, a place on Haddon Avenue, no one has come to talk to us has any interest in a 1,500 square foot space that people just have to go find parking somewhere for. Everyone that has spoken to us has an interest in places like the Team Street building, hundreds of parking spaces. So I'll just leave you with that. And every town's doing this, but I think there's gonna be 50 like retail licenses in the state and like 35, 40 retail licenses in the state or licenses for cultivation. So it's gonna be huge competition for where these things go. So that's what we've done. That's where we are. Okay, we're good. Want to say a little something? Good?
Yeah, I'll just a couple of things. There's a few things that at least, and I'm really interested. First of all, I appreciate hearing from people thus far, and I'm interested in what we'll hear on the 14th as well. But right now, there's a couple of things that I sort of like about this approach. One is moving cautiously. That it is really easy to expand and change things to sort of be more permissive. But once you sort of allow this and people have opened up shops, and you find out they're not doing what they do, it's really hard to bring it to reel it back in. So the idea of, before we have regulations saying, let's go guns blazing and, ready, fire, and then aim afterwards, just doesn't seem to work. I think this is a good way of moving. The second thing is I think that area, as the mayor said, the market is sort of defined sort of needs, and we're trying to find ways that we can accommodate that. The third thing is I think I'm really looking forward to and hope that we can find, good businesses, attractive businesses to invest in the 130 corridor. I think that's an area that has, been sort of underutilized and sometimes, overlooked. And, I think it's an area that, if done right, you could have a regionally important, business there that is, by the way, paying tax revenues, not just property taxes, but income tax to the borough that would be something you could be proud of, that would have access to, and can do it in an area that hopefully people would say, boy, I like the downtown, I like the theater district, I like 132. And I think by doing this, by amending the redevelopment plan, also just gives us a lot of opportunity to have, say, talk with the community to define how that'll fit. So I'm pleased with where we're going. A little nervous just because not having those regulations, but I think this is a good way to go.
Okay, public hearing will be at our August the 2nd meeting, and then July 14 is a town forum where we're going to kind of focus on this. Okay.
Mayor, ma'am.
Where is the forum? Forum's here. Scott's right. I want to say. Yeah.
Mayor Mellon?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson? Yes. Okay, we have the first reading of ordinance 1715, regulating municipal taxation and collection of taxes upon cannabis establishments.
So this is simply authorizing us to the full extent allowed by state law for these taxes on these establishments. Right? Who knows if we get them, but it just puts that in place. It's not clear whether or not you have to have that done by the middle of August 2, but we're adopting and putting in place just recently. August 2, public hearing.
Mayor Mellon?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson? Yes.
So this is the opportunity for public comment on items that are on the agenda. For the rest of the agenda on the resolutions, we'll have an open public comment portion at the end of the meeting to talk about whatever it is you would like. But these are simply questions on the agenda items themselves. Anybody? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, we have a resolution appointing Jeffrey Joyce as fire official for the Borough of Collingswood.
Yes.
Yes.
Reappointing John Warren to the Collingswood Housing Authority.
Yes.
Appointing William Giordano as tax collector for the Borough of Collingswood.
So congratulations, Bill Giordano got his results back on this tax collector test. He passed, a couple of hours ago. So boom, we're immediately putting him into that. Can there be a better role to serve your community than to be the tax collector? Just to deal with everyone is so happy when they get there to him, just so pleasant. It's just, I'm sure Bill is going to blossom even more in that position. It's just that it has brought such delight to everyone that has served in it. What can be better? But Bill, congratulations.
Big
Good
shoes
luck.
to fill. Big
Yeah.
shoes to fill. Kathy McCarthy was fantastic, and I appreciate what she's done.
Good luck, Bill. Thank you. You'll be getting emails per day. When they write to me, I write to the tax collector. So here, Al?
Appointing Ralph Jones as bill inspector as needed.
Yes.
Approving salary resolution for the zoning officer and tax clerk.
So this is simply implementing the ordinance we did above of a position sharing multiple roles. Correction to collect is going to be served. Yes.
Yes.
Referring ordinance 1714, amending the redevelopment plan to the planning board.
So the cannabis ordinance that's amending the redevelopment plan goes to the planning board. They get a review and comment on whether or not it's consistent with the master plan, which should be a very interesting exercise since when the master plan was adopted, cannabis use was illegal. But they're going to get a review on that, and then it's just part of the statutory required process that comes back.
Yes.
Yes.
Authorizing refund of tax overpayments in block 15, lot 16.
Yes.
Yes.
Authorizing a shared service agreement with the Borough of Summerdale for the disposal of solid waste.
Yes.
Yes.
Approving public safety building change orders to Epic Management Incorporated, CCIA, Jingoli, and CM3.
So we've had a few different change orders relating to things, requirements from the Department of Correction with respect to jail cells, some issues with a gas line regulator coming into the building. These change orders we're approving tonight to get the building where there was actually furniture being moved into the building today, so we're getting closer. Elevators are working in the building finally, we're getting closer. And that's what these are approving that. We need to vote on it. Yes. Sorry.
Authorizing foreclosure of certain properties for the delinquent taxes.
So these are properties which are behind in their taxes, and usually we sell the liens when people don't pay taxes. We sell them at a tax sale. We get very few that end up back with the town. These are two different properties that are back with the town, and this is authorizing acquiring the property, taking the property by foreclosure. It's generally, it's a, someone's passed away, there's no family, there's no estate, generally it's a situation like that. So, yes.
Yes.
Authorized to advertise for bids for new trash truck.
So I want to take this, we'll talk a bit about trash. First and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you, Cassandra, all of them that are working in our public works department. What they've been doing over the last month is, before it's nothing short of Herculean. Through the hottest of days, we basically threw together a trash department within like 36 hours. And it is not great, fun work. It's certainly not sustainable for us. We don't have the size of the department that we can be doing this. We were unable to reach terms for extensions of the contract with our third-party waste hauler. They wanted to waive all claims for the past. We weren't willing to do that. So we're working on, we're trying to get other third-party haulers to pick up trash. We have not been successful in that because they're all having similar issues with staff. So one change that we're implementing is that grass and yard waste will now only be picked up on your first and third pickup day of the month, okay? So trash and recyclables are still every week, but grass and yard waste are going to move to only the first and the third pickup weeks, okay? No, we'll have some confusion out of that, but it's the first and third weeks of your pickup is when will be grass and yard waste, okay? We will do all we can to signal it out as much as we possibly can. But that's the one change we're making while we're continuing to flesh out the together more permanent plans on how we're going to keep picking up trash. Okay, sorry. So, yes.
Authorizing application for New Jersey DOT grant, improvement Leaf Avenue project, Safe Transit ADA Range project, and downtown transit corridor pedestrian and bicycle improvement project.
So this is just applying for free money? Yes.
Yes.
Accepting the 2020 audit.
So I want to give a thank you and a shout out to all our department heads, especially to Betty Jo Filiacelli, who was our chief financial officer. The audit for 2020, the criteria that CFOs always measure themselves are is their audits. At the end of the audits, the auditor typically puts together like comments. Okay, this is like the teacher's comments at the end of your school year saying, you could have really worked a little hard on your English, or you should have read a little bit more, or I didn't like your class participation. Like, this is where the auditor can make their critiques of how things are done. I've never seen a place where we've gone years now with no comments, just none. So we're counting the numbers the way we should. We're doing sound financial planning, and it's really great credit to Betty Jo, all the department heads that have had to sit with her and gone through everything with her and understand how she keeps a tight ship. So thank you, Betty Jo, and everybody else that helps with it. And we're signing off that we reviewed the audit.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we had an add one. Authorizing Borough of Collinsville to release an easement.
So when the lumber yard was constructed many years ago, there was an easement put in place for a sewer line. Things changed with the design of the buildings, and the sewer was run in different ways that easement was never used. About a year or so ago, the lumberyard apartments sold. There was a sale. They changed hands, and their title report picked up the sewer easement that wasn't being used. They have asked us to release that sewer easement, which we're doing because we don't have any pipes there in the ground and don't plan to put any pipes in the ground. So that's all this is, releasing the easement.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Robinson, anything you'd like to say?
Being at the fireworks the other night, it felt like the best fireworks ever. And it was like the first fireworks ever. Just the return to normal is feeling good. It's just the community together, faces lighting up, as Rob pointed out, the faces that light up when the fireworks go off. It's pretty great. A lot of our events are coming back. And that's exciting. And you can feel that there's just more excitement than there's ever been about it. There'll be a cruise night coming back, second Saturday is back. The Proud Neighbors organized the house decorating contest. That's a lot of fun. We appreciate the effort there. We have movies in the park, provided the weather cooperates. And it's just great to see faces and smiles after a really long, hard time.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewandowski.
Thank you. So yeah, for Independence Day was fantastic, and just want to add there, and thanks to the bicycle parade, one of my favorite things, and I decorated this year, and the American Legion who graciously donates all the yummy ice cream and the long line of patient kids waiting for them. It's fantastic, and it's such a great part of our community. And it mentioned about the first and third week for yard waste. One thing I just want to stress is that, to think about how much of that needs to go to the curb. That there are, ways, mulching, composting, finding other ways to use that yard waste to keep it out of landfill, keep it out of, a truck coming to have to pick it up. And oftentimes in ways it's beneficial for your yard. So I just sort of want to mention that, and I know if you go to the Sustainable Collingswood, website, there's a lot of information on these types of things. I'm sure we'll be pushing it out as we're communicating about this sort of change in policy. Speaking of Sustainable Collingswood, neat things happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first meeting of the Sustainable Collingswood Youth Committee. And these are 10 to 17-year-old students. And, they're meeting, and there's still time to register if you're a kid and you might be interested. But, this is a group that we hope that can provide some advisory to the community that can help plan and assist with events. That education will be an important part, but ultimately it's empowerment, right? It's essentially giving our youth a voice and, and some power in defining the world that they live in. So really exciting thing that's starting tomorrow. Where you mentioned second Saturday, that's good. This week, right? The 10th, so fantastic thing. Our library, if anyone has younger kids, you probably went through the summer reading program and all these great incentives that kids have to read, great partnership with the school district, and really, encouraging kids not just to do the task of reading, but to find a love of reading. And it's a great thing. We've always ran these great programs for the younger kids. High school, summer readings. All these high school kids have to do summer readings. The library has actually been providing, and I think there's free copies of books that are on the summer reading list for students. You don't even have to have a Collingswood library ID. You might be homely, but we want you to have a book. We want you to read it. We want you to enjoy it, and Collingswood Library is doing it. So thank you for that. And just last thing, just mentioning schools. Congratulations to all our graduates. Our high school graduates on the 24th, elementary school, going to the middle school, high school. It's a big day for kids, and it's been quite a year and a half for kids, and what they've done to persevere and hang on is just fantastic. Really proud of them. Congratulations to the students, their families, and all the teachers that that's all I got.
You got it. So a couple different things. One is just to note and to thank Matt Scron, one of our firefighter EMTs. Matt is part of the New Jersey force that is down in Miami, helping go through the rubble from the condo complex that collapsed. Matt and a group of actually people from all over the country are there now, but we know Matt is out working tonight. So we hope he and all his all the folks that are working with him are able to bring some relief to the people there and do it in a way that keeps them all safe. My only other topic I want to touch on is the pool. Robert's Pool, we've had a pretty crazy week last week. Combination of the crazy heat that we had, and also kind of I refer to as the pandemic hangover, with so many other places that had closed their pools because of staffing. We were simply overrun. We sold more. We sold almost double the number of day passes, that's for folks from out of town just coming for the day, than we do on the hottest 4th of July pass. We were overrun. The first day of this week, there were some not great incidents that took place. And what that does when it's overrun that way, there's so many people, it puts too much stress on our lifeguards. They're there to make sure everybody's safe in the pool. So when they're being diverted by just the sheer number of people and things going on outside the pool, the quality of that supervision that we're providing for people in the pool suffers. So we imposed a limit last Friday on 150 day passes. So those are for people who are not members. There's a category that is guests of members. There's not a limit on those, but people that are not members or guests of members that just come in to buy a pass for the day, there's a limit of 150 set on that. We were also helped because the weather got a little bit cooler, but it's going to be hot again. And we're probably going to be running into that situation where we're going to have that limit. We're putting that in place because we feel it's necessary. Same as these other pools are closing because they don't have the staffing. The staff that we have, we're limited in like how many people they can keep an eye on while they're in. So that was in place. That's the reason why. That's why we did that. Okay, so I'm going to open up to the public, open up to you all, whatever you want to talk about. Lorraine, you had your hand while Commissioner Lewandowski was talking, so I'll go to you first. What do you
Yeah, well, specifically, the ready for
Thank you.
specifically, I was just comment, we said, the one and yard waste, that it should go to the landfill. But doesn't count.
No, I said landfill, then I said, being trucked away, because no, we have.
We
And
covered.
we still have compost that tell, so when I put out my leaves, I don't put out my grass.
We did.
Don't put out my leaves, but I put out giant bushes I cut down, we still take all that away.
Yes.
And we still will, right? Because of the, just sheer amount of work we have to do in creating our own sanitation department. That's why we'll go to the first and third.
Oh, yeah.
The damage, I guess, is really, you still got trucks driving around.
I just want to make sure it's still, like, not.
No, yeah.
We're our town.
I sort of I quietly corrected myself, but you're too smart.
You did it really
You caught me.
quiet.
You caught me, Lorraine.
And Lorraine, just to be, so that we don't send people flutter, it's not a Cattell, the compost facility. The compost facility is out Champion, kind of on the other side of Route 130,
Okay.
back there, that's where the compost facility is. Okay,
Okay.
all right,
Thank you.
all right, anybody else? This is your opportunity, yes, sir, just give us your name and address. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I just, I mentioned this, I think, at our last meeting, and thank you for bringing it up again. I did have it on my list. I think we're going to probably be introducing a resolution at our next meeting. We already have an ordinance to go forward with. The resolution is going to have us engage with the consultant who's actually going to put out the sort of auction and manage the communication with the community and meet all the regulatory requirements, which are very long and very complex to doing this type of thing. So we like the idea of if we can get affordable, cleaner energy, electricity specifically, we want it. And so we're moving forward with that process. So thank you for asking.
I just want to know what you were doing.
No, thank you.
We found a way to get, instead of going through a formal RFP process, we're going to take advantage of the School Boards Association has a kind of a stable of consultants that we can utilize. So we were making sure we were able to do that. So
That'll be in August.
yeah, it should be August. Yep. Bringing somebody on board for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, Lorraine. Oh, you. No, go ahead. Lorraine.
Okay. A while ago, this board commissioned, an ordinance, I guess, actually, ordinance 1697, having to do with, state mandated stormwater management ordinance. And, just as an explanation to everybody, because I'm part of, Lorraine Friends here in Collins, we also represent the Free Watershed Association. So I like to do a little bit of education, as I I can talk from the very end. This ordinance specifies that New Jersey municipalities must manage stormwater runoff from impervious surfaces from major development. That's basically what it does. It's supposed to, impervious surface is supposed to replenish our water supply, control water flooding, and that sort of thing. Those problems by requiring the use of green stormwater infrastructure. All these folks know that. I just want to put that out there that it's known. Commons within, as you folks know, adopted the plain vanilla stormwater ordinance that was mandated by the state. A minor that's plain vanilla stormwater management ordinance actually has to do with major development. Anything that disturbs land that is more than an acre or a quarter. And so at the time, pointed out that Commons doesn't have much of that kind. So we really, if you just one clause to this ordinance. Now, this ordinance, the state, when they put this out, they gave an allowance to have an option for minor stormwater. And as you see things are going right now in the town, whenever somebody exceeds their stormwater ordinance according to zoning, it's pretty much governed by the board, who is an appointed board, but they're not experts in this field of stormwater management, and how to solve it, because now there's new ways to do this green stormwater infrastructure that the state has allowed for. In essence, what we've got is the planning board who are handling our stormwater management here in this town. So I'm here to point out that it's been 6 months since this first ordinance was done, and I understand that you looked into affect the town in terms of putting a minor development stormwater addition to this. So I'm asking you how it's going, and also offer, because I am in the Creek Watershed Association, we have an assortment and a whole experts and people who know about things such as stormwater quantity triggers and how it affects other towns. I mean, other towns in Jersey that have this into effect. So we're offering that if this is the kind of thing that you're leaving up to like one person to decide, maybe one of you or maybe somebody that you appointed, we really like to help out and some of the stuff. We've got a pretty good research.
So I get a couple of things. One, I just want to get clear for everybody, like the picture you paint with the planning board, these volunteers designing stormwater management, that they do, but they don't. Like we have engineers that work with them who are expert in the stormwater management. I just don't want this perception that I would walk in and just decide stormwater management. They rely on professionals. But I can tell you that what I've done, I actually talked with somebody today about it because I had to dig out. You had the materials you gave us before. I think you referenced like 7 different applications where there were variances granted from our then existing stormwater management rules. And I've asked someone to go through and ask them, they would qualify as the minor, the smaller projects, and ask them to go through and tell me what would be different. Like how does someone solve the issues that were created? And I got a report on it, and I have to find it already. Okay, I got an email on it. It won't be that hard. I can find it. But my concern was simply, I wanted to make sure that if we place those requirements on smaller projects, somebody doing something, extending put an addition on their house, that we didn't impose some kind of a requirement that made it prohibitively expensive. Okay, that's my only concern. So I'll dig that out. We'll have, and we may have some more discussion about it, just to go over it. Okay, but that's really my only, and I have a feeling that's why the state didn't require it, because it depends what you're dealing with. Okay, so I want to just do it in a way that we love to help serve, improve it we just did a new patio in the backyard on pervious, you know, like I get it, I threw it on. But want to make sure that we don't put something in the code that puts a requirement on people that it's going to make it like impossible for them.
Yeah, that's what this minor development clause would have. It would be a kind of thing where we determine what is right for this town. In terms of the tree, is it an extra 250 square feet or extra 400 square feet? Different towns have different reasons, how much water offsets, but the point of the whole matter is that going forward into the future, this town is flooding, pollution, and with the fact that we get our water in this town ourselves, we pump out of the aquifer. I mean, the aquifer, one of the problems, sea level is rising, but the aquifer is falling in New Jersey. So what we really need is have a look at this, at how it affects the town in terms of that. And that's the kind of thing where it's not just an expense to the homeowner, it's an expense to the Department of Public Works by having to clean out storm drains or people with their sump pumps with too much water in their basements. There really is no reason that anytime anybody goes over the amount of what is zoned for their area, their property, there isn't some kind of mitigating circumstances that's put on that person. And it's not, I mean, this is not unusual, this is happening in the rest of the country. And of course, we don't want it to be expensive for people, but we want it to be beneficial. So we have got to look that way for the town, it's beneficial for everybody, and not just the neighborhood. And that's too often what happens with zoning and with areas that you're looking at what's the detriment to the neighborhood, what's the detriment to the community. And it's got to do with too much water, and we're looking way into the future. So that's really what we're talking about. And this is what you're having someone look into this and you're having a report done. What are you going to, I have to ask, with all due respect, what are you going to do with this report? Are you going to make a decision from that report, or are you going to?
We'll talk with you some more. We're all going to look at it for one and talk about it, and then we'll talk with you some more and go over it. I'll talk to the engineer. It was not the engineers that did it. It was our planning. It was a licensed planner who was working with us at the time, who reviewed it, and I didn't ask them to give us their stormwater. I just asked if they didn't get the variance that they got, how do they comply with the new stormwater rights? Now, I don't know if I got the answer in that report, but it was just simply, look, you gave us practical situations, so how would it be different? What would it be? And for me, it doesn't matter if it's a little more expensive for people, I just don't want it to be prohibitive.
And sometimes they're really easy fixes, right? So I had a neighbor that, you know, was seeking a variance for a deck on their property. And so, you know, got my registered mail and we talked a little bit. And he said, oh, you know, he said, well, I hope you can afford it. And we talked a little bit. He said, have you ever thought about, if you're doing this, thought about putting any rain barrels in and you capture some of your water and using flood garden? Really thought about that, right? You don't even get discounted points. Down. And so they actually didn't fill they didn't fill the deck, but they actually got the rate. But in the end, right, if that would have in some ways, because they were going over to their impervious property structure, $100. Sometimes there is mitigation, sometimes it's not, but you know.
Someone wants to mention that, and so the point of this whole thing is it needs to be codified into law. You know, so it's not just something that the zoning board or the planning board says at the recommendation of the engineer. Because in the last few years, the average increase in impervious surface on an individual property that's typical of this town, 6,000 square feet, has been 8%. 8% of 6,000 square foot property is over 500 square feet. And the extension on average.
That's on those 7 applications.
That's right. But
Yeah, but you make it sound like that's happened everywhere.
It's happening.
7 properties.
You don't think that that's typical? Because
No.
Recently,
They have to get approval.
since that contract went up to 2018, so before I came here, I looked at 2018 to 2020, there was 3, and the average was about 5%. And that doesn't include the swimming pools that were granted permissions. Swimming pools are impervious surface, but no one in this town considers that to be that way.
that it is consistent and it is beneficial to the town.
Remember when I walked in, I said, I have a specific thing I have to talk to you about, and that's it. It's what jarred me to check about all of this, because we had an application for a pretty big thing we're out. And that kicked into, I gotta pull that out, see what the minor, see how they look, and that's what I'm more.
Well, I just,
Okay,
of course, I had to mention.
there are other people, we can let them talk for them.
I know, I'm going to just leave you with a memory of me.
Maureen,
I
we will
can,
always.
I can never say what I can write, so I think this is a little bit more.
I'm not waiting.
Oh,
Can I just say this?
I
I think codifying is important, but I think in some ways finding a path for advisory and education is going to be important too. Because sometimes we can,
We got the people for
we got the people, right? We have this great green team that, in many ways, we've got other people who have, like you said, you don't just have people that are interested, you have experts. And I think tying those things together.
Thank you. Mr. Klinger. Name and address just for the record.
Richard Frederick, 743 Maple Terrace. The day I was taking a walk on Hannah Avenue, coming in from Westmont and Bryce and Hannah Avenue, there is a water leak that's coming out of a pipe that looks like it is a pipe or shut-off valve for water.
Okay, well, okay, there is. Okay. I was saying, don't wait to come here at 7 o'clock. Like, call us, let us know. But Kevin, you're aware? Kevin, you aware? Rome is burning. Come on, Kevin.
We're aware of that, and it's on our list to tackle next week. Okay. We've had about 3 or 4 valves leaking throughout town in addition tracks, so it is on our list. It's one of the slowly leaking valves, and it is on the list.
You want the water valve replaced, or you want your trash picked up? Well, it's the same guy. It's the same guy.
Water is costing us money.
It is. It is. Thanks. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. All right. Well, it's great to see you all. We were together last month at, Scottish Rite, but great to see everybody here. Enjoy the dog days of summer.
Thank you.